Rogan and Konstantin Kisin weighed in on the wrongful deportation of a Venezuelan migrant who was sent to a maximum security prison in El Salvador, with ICE claiming that he was a member of Tren de Aragua. However, that is not the case. In fact, he wasn't even in the United States illegally. He was here legally. He had a legitimate asylum claim. He came in through a port of entry and made that asylum claim. And his name's Andrei Hernandez.
A shocking immigration case is capturing national attention, and for good reason. In a rare show of unity, Joe Rogan and Kasparian, two public figures who almost never agree on anything, are standing on the same side. What could possibly bring them together? The heartbreaking story of Andrei Hernandez, an openly gay Venezuelan makeup artist who legally entered the United States seeking asylum. Instead of being given a fair hearing, Andrei was suddenly deported, not back to Venezuela, but to a maximum security prison in El Salvador, one of the most dangerous in Central America. The reason? ICE agents believed that tattoos of his parents wearing crowns resembled gang symbols. That alone was enough. No trial, no opportunity to explain, no justice. Just a one-way trip to a place no innocent person should ever see. This isn't just another immigration debate. It's a chilling reminder of how broken and unaccountable parts of the system can be. A single, unfounded suspicion ruined a man's life. And now, even voices from opposite ends of the political spectrum, including Konstantin Kisin, are speaking out. They all agree. What happened to Andrei is beyond outrageous. As this case goes viral, it's starting to reshape how people view immigration policy, and it could have major consequences for Donald Trump's 2024 campaign. Because when innocent people are being thrown into foreign prisons without due process, it's no longer just a political issue, it's a human one.
Scared that people who are not criminals are getting lassoed up and deported and sent to El Salvador prisons.
With a bunch of these Tren de Aragua guys, allegedly they got at least one guy who wasn't criminal, who was just a gay barber who I think, according to the story, came here legally. He was here legally, that's what they said.
Joe Rogan and Konstantin Kisin weighed in on the wrongful deportation of a Venezuelan migrant who was sent to a maximum security prison in El Salvador, with ICE claiming that he was a member of Tren de Aragua. However, that is not the case. In fact, he wasn't even in the United States illegally. He was here legally. He had a legitimate asylum claim. He came in through a port of entry and made that asylum claim. And his name's Andrei Hernandez. He's a gay makeup artist, critic of Venezuela, and I just feel like it's pretty obvious he's not a Tren de Aragua gang member.
Yeah, they don't even know people into the gang. So among 1,000 reasons why he's not a gang member. So this is what happens when you do process.
Exactly.
Because the courts are supposed to check. Oh, is he a gang member or isn't he? Oh, is he undocumented or isn't he? Did he come here legally or not? Because if you don't check, people who did come here legally and that aren't in a gang, if he did this without doing it in a dumb way, and he just rounded up the actual gang and made sure, then shipped them off, some people would still be mad that he sent to a hellhole in El Salvador. But overall, the American people are massively on his side.
Yeah, and look, I want to be 100%. Everyone, including individuals who are suspected of being gang members, there's actual evidence, showing that they're part. Doesn't matter. You need to go through the proper channels. There needs to be due process. There's a reason why due process. And if you think it's okay to just throw it away when it comes to individuals who the federal government is simply accusing unilaterally of doing something criminal, well, I mean, you're allowing so much power to be concentrated in the federal government, point where they can accuse anyone of anything, and you don't get in court. That's crazy. That is absolutely.
This story is nothing short of unbelievable, and yet it's real. Joe Rogan recently sat down with British commentator Konstantin Kisin and progressive journalist Kasparian for a gripping conversation about civil liberties, abuse of power, and what happens when government overreach goes unchecked. At the center of their discussion was Andrei Hernandez, a Venezuelan asylum seeker who followed every legal step to seek protection in the US. He entered through an official port of entry, filed for asylum to escape political persecution, and expected the due process promised under both American and international law. Instead, what he got was a nightmare. Without a fair hearing, Andre was suddenly deported, not back to his home country, but to a maximum security prison in El Salvador, infamous for housing gang leaders and violent criminals. The justification? ICE agents believed his tattoos, images of his parents wearing crowns, resembled gang symbols. That single, unfounded assumption was all they needed to strip him of his rights and send him into danger. Andre, an openly gay makeup artist and vocal critic of repression, had no gang ties whatsoever. Still, he was treated like a criminal. It sounds like a dystopian movie, but it actually happened. What's even more telling is the response. Joe Rogan, often associated with populist and libertarian views, and Konstantin Kishin, known for his critiques of progressive politics, both fiercely condemned the incident. They called it reckless, terrifying, and fundamentally un-American. Kishin pointed out that governments often spend more time hiding their mistakes than fixing them. Rogan warned that the true threat isn't deporting criminals. It's when innocent people get caught in a broken system with no chance to defend themselves. Even Anna Kasparian, a leading progressive voice, stood in agreement. When voices from opposite ends of the political spectrum sound the same alarm, you know something has gone terribly wrong. Anna Kasparian didn't just share her opinion, she backed it up with legal precedent.
He had sought asylum in the United States through a port of entry, but the administration argues that he's part of Tren de Aragua because he has gang tattoos. Oh, interesting. So, they make the claim, I want the gang tattoos. Maybe they have a legitimate argument here. The tattoos look. Here are the tattoos that ICE declared were evidence that, this guy, gay makeup artist who came to a port of entry seeking asylum from Venezuela, was a member of a vicious gang. I'm not making this up. This is it. Mom and dad with crowns over them. Those are not gang tattoos. But apparently it didn't matter because despite it's obvious those aren't gang tattoos, his lawyers have not been able to reach him March 15th. And after interviewing him, he says he is not a member of the gang. Somehow an ICE officer concludes that despite all that, his 2 crown tattoos, mom and dad written under them, are consistent with those of a Tren de Aragua member.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. They're just lying. So with that context in mind, and knowing that this is what Rogan and Kissin are talking about, let's hear more of what they had to say.
I think human being plucked out of nowhere and then in a country he's never been in a maximum security prison with kids, seems like a bad thing to happen to me.
It's horrific. It's horrific.
I don't think that should be controversial.
No, that's not controversial. And this is the thing, measured twice, cut once.
Yeah.
This is kind of crazy that be possible. That's horrific. And that's bad for us. Like, the cause is, let's get the gang members out. Everybody agrees. But innocent gay hairdressers get lumped up with the gangs. Like, how long before that guy can get out? Can we figure out how to get him out? Is there any plan in place to alert the authorities that they've made a horrible mistake and correct it?
Well, if you think about it from a government perspective, and this is where I think it gets questioned, is once you've done that, the incentive structure is never going to be to admit that and deal with it. The incentive structure is to say nothing, to cover it up, to pretend it didn't happen.
That is horrible.
So someone ends up in a black hole. But we've seen it.
Right.
We've seen it in every country, including in America.
But that's the thing about politics, right? Never admit your fault. Never admit you're wrong. This is the thing we're seeing with the signal thing, and this is the thing we're seeing.
And, there seems to be more frustration with the lack of accountability or the willing to take responsibility for mistakes made. So far, we haven't heard anything from the Trump administration in regard to this specific individual who was sent away. But you should know that we have so far spent about $40 million to send migrants to El Salvador. And that's according to the State Department. They apparently analysis and provided that analysis to senators. There was a delegation of 5 senators who even visited, I'm sorry, that's for Gitmo. So we've spent $40 million to jail 400 migrants at Guantanamo Bay. So it's not just El Salvador, we're also sending them to Guantanamo Bay, but that has become so expensive that the Trump administration quietly stopped doing that. And they actually sent half of those 400 migrants back to the United States, how costly it was. But I should also note that we've been paying El Salvador as well. The last time it was reported, we spent about $6 million.
She cited a ruling by U.S. District Judge Brian Murphy, who explicitly blocked the Trump administration's attempt to deport asylum seekers to third countries without giving them due process. Judge Murphy made it clear, under both U.S. law and the Convention Against Torture, no one, guilty or innocent, can be deported without proper notice and a meaningful opportunity to seek protection. Yet despite this legal clarity, the administration tried to work around those safeguards, undermining the very principles the justice system is built on. And if the legal and moral failures weren't alarming enough, the financial side of the story makes it even worse. Over $6 million was spent deporting migrants to El Salvador alone. Add to that another $40 million connected to Guantanamo Bay operations, some of which involved deportees who had to be returned later due to costly preventable mistakes. Essentially, the U.S. government spent tens of millions of dollars paying foreign governments to detain people who may have been wrongfully removed. This isn't just an immigration scandal, it's a full-blown financial disaster, funded by taxpayers. Andre Hernandez, who committed no crime and followed every legal step, ended up imprisoned in one of the most dangerous facilities in Central America. And that's what makes this case so powerful and so disturbing. When voices as ideologically different as Joe Rogan, Konstantin Kisin, and Anna Kasparian all land on the same side, it's not about politics anymore. It's about justice. It's about human rights. And it's a loud, undeniable warning about what happens when government power goes unchecked. So now the question is, where do you stand on this? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more fearless coverage that cuts through the noise, make sure to subscribe to Celebi.